Hi everybody, this is week 28. This is all the films up to the 16th of July for Matthew's Movie Mentions. I've watched a number of films this week that had been on the list for a while, that I expected to get more of or to enjoy more. I felt a little bit let down by some of them, which is a real shame. So there were some good ideas in there, but the execution didn't really come through. And there were others that I watched that I'd wanted to see for a while that weren't what I expected, but in a good way. The promise of the trailer and the setup for them actually came through to something different. So, this week, what are we watching? We have watched Prisoners, High Anxiety, Gio Storm, That's Not Me, Fashionista, Please Stand By, Happy Death Day, The Pursuit of Happyness, Batman and Harley Quinn, Bronson, Magic Mike, and The Host. Not the Stephanie Meyer one. So first on the list is Prisoners, which is the first on the list of what I didn't expect. For some reason, I'd taken away from the trailers that it was going to be Hugh Jackman going after Jake Gyllenhaal, which wasn't what happened, and it was only about 3/4 of the way through the movie that I realised that wasn't what was going on, so I had to completely shift my thoughts of what was happening. A really interesting movie, though, very absorbing. There was a lot of time. It gave the film room to breathe and think about what was going on and people's actions and to put it all together. Really well done. High Anxiety is another Mel Brooks film that I wanted to get through. I think I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of Hitchcock, so a Mel Brooks film that's an homage to Hitchcock was always going to be somewhere in the middle. There's a couple of very good visual gags. The psycho shower sequence, I wasn't sure how they were going to do it, but when they got there, it was very nice. It was very good. But otherwise, I can see why this is not a Mel Brooks film that's referenced very much. Gio Storm. After Hurricane Heist, I went into Gio Storm not expecting much, which it was better than that, at least. But it's still not good. We improved the film by, drinking alcohol whilst watching it, and also replacing everyone's lines. So as the people were talking, we were going, Gio Storm, Gio Storm, Gio Storm. I think you could leave it on TV if there was nothing else on, but other than that, I'm not sure this is one I can recommend. That's Not Me is one that had a really good setup about a twin whose identical sister becomes a famous actress, so she starts pretending to be her to get free stuff. It's a really good idea, but the film tried to play it a little bit more as drama, and I'm not sure I actually laughed during this comedy, so not good. Fashionista, which I normally wouldn't have watched. There was a description on Sky Cinema that said it was a genre-bending thriller, which is very much my jam. That's the sort of thing I like. And it had some interesting stuff in it, but 3/4 of the way through it suddenly became a sort of eyes wide shut sort of film. So it didn't really land for me, and it left me with more questions, but in terms of plot holes than, I'm not sure why they did that. Yeah, it a bit strange. Please Stand By is almost the third of this sequence. An interesting premise about an autistic girl who's trying to get to LA to submit her Star Trek script for a competition, which some of it was fun, actually. The performances were very good. The leads all elevated this with their performances, but I think I've seen some of this story done elsewhere better, and in large part it was just, okay, and they've now finished and it's all happy. I don't know whether they should have played it more seriously or not, but it was okay. I think I gave that a 7. It was that sort of film. Happy Death Day, I finally got to see, which I'd wanted to watch since it was at the cinema. And I do like a good postmodern take on some sort of classic idea. This was a horror version of Groundhog Day, and it was really well done. It had some of the same sort of fun element that Scream brought to the genre. But for me, the thing that lets it down is its mention of Groundhog Day. It does have a mention, but the way that I think you should do it in this sort of when you are doing a take on another film is actually mention it early on and say, hey, this is really like that thing, and use that to inform the plot or to inform the comedy. This didn't. This was just an absolutely tangential reference. And the fact that that's so random, it makes me feel like they didn't know what sort of film they were making, and perhaps it was in the editing that it came together rather than through the script or the screenplay, which we've heard on a number of other films recently. But yeah, it was good. It was better than I expected it to be, I will say. The Pursuit of Happyness is a classic film that I've felt I should see for a while now. I can see it's a really well done film. The performances are excellent and the situations are really good. But I just found the whole thing very stressful. I didn't understand or agree with some of the decisions, which I think is the point. I think this is a person who makes bad decisions or doesn't always go to quite the right thing. And I just kept expecting bad things to happen, so it set me on edge all the way through. I feel like I might enjoy it more the next time. Now I know how the film is going to go. Batman and Harley Quinn, another disappointment. Had this film been entirely in Harley's point of view, it would have been very funny and very good, but because they were trying to do this as a Batman animated series episode, it followed Batman and Nightwing a lot, which meant some of the Harley-style humour, it really didn't work on top of them, and it actually detracted from their characters somewhat. The story wasn't that good either. There was some interesting ideas that we were using characters we don't often see, or in ways that we don't often see, but it didn't have the cleverness of some of the original Batman episodes, and it didn't have some of the sort of comedy from the naturalistic world, from things actually happening in the real world that Harley Quinn story brings. So, Bronson is easily one of the better films I watched this week. The story's interesting enough, and the violence ends up a little over the top, so it's a little bit more cartoony, which is good because it is a very violent film. But Tom Hardy's performance is absolutely what makes this. He is engaging, he's sinister, he's funny. You can see he's an actor who goes very far to deliver something very astounding. Magic Mike, I expected this to be a film about Channing Tatum either as a stripper trying to raise money or getting into stripping to raise money in a kind of Muppet Show sort of way. My wife expected it to be something about strippers competing, so something like a Bring It On or Pitch Perfect. It ended up more like Boogie Nights, I think, than anything else. There wasn't really a plot, but it was still a good film. The stripping actually was much more like burlesque performances than just men grabbing women and gyrating at them, which happened a bit and was a bit weird, because, no, that doesn't look like fun for anyone. But, yeah, really good performances and some interesting stuff being delivered in there. And finally, The Host. I've been meaning to watch this for a good long time now, and so it finally came up on Amazon and got on the list. It's exactly what I want from a creature feature. It's not going into the government army responses. It's showing real people in this situation and people on the ground, as it were. So, very well done. A very good lark. My recommendation this week is easily Prisoners. It was the best film the film that I rated the highest this week. It was gripping. It was dark. It had realistically depicted people in a terrible situation just doing what they thought was right. Gyllenhaal and Jack were wonderful, but actually the whole supporting cast was terrific as well. So next week, lots more films, lots of random stuff that's coming up on Sky, so we should have a good mix next week, I think, as well. I've already watched, we're doing Perks of Being a Wallflower next on the podcast, so I already watched that a while ago and talked about that. So after that, we've actually got some Much Ado About Nothing coming up, so that will be a fun one to watch too. See everyone in week 29.